I'm just going to take one last question on the importance of intentionality. So we do understand that when it comes to education, intentionality, or say giving purpose or meaning to why we're doing what we're doing is so important. So what are some of the challenges to say talk on topics that might be controversial? How do you drive that intentionality and ensure that, like, a classroom is a safe space to discuss topics that could impact that could have an adverse impact on society? So either of you can take that question.
Yeah. If I may say something on this. Yeah, I think that according to my experience here in the Arab world, in the Middle East, we are facing a problem in teaching, for example, philosophy and all philosophies of, for example, of religion, of history, of science. So I think maybe teaching certain courses, like the one my colleague now mentioned on humanities, in for example social sciences and civic education, for example. We teach civic education rather than global citizenship, and this is a problem. We don't teach, for example, I'm making a critique here. We don't teach in the Arab world, for example, philosophy. We used to do this maybe 50 years ago. So I think education, for example, in the developing countries are facing a real problem. What we are teaching now is not working on developing the mind and the soul and the spirit. We are, if I go back to what Mahatma Gandhi said, for example, when he defined education, he defined it as that it should be all around development of the best in the child, concerning the physical, mental, social, and spiritual. So we are facing a problem concerning accepting others, because we are, for example, not teaching history in the way it should be, or because we are not accepting our students to be engaged in dialogues. What is interpreted because of their political, for example, backgrounds, or their spiritual raising, or the way they were affected by their societies and families, for example, and sometimes schools, sometimes they make them more biased and accept, and they are forcing them to accept ideas, not discuss ideas, not accept others. So actually, this is the dimension, this is the way that it has to be tackled. In developing countries, things are very, very good, and they are going in the right direction. In underdeveloped countries, to face the truth, we are having this problem, that we have to work on it in a very, very, not aggressive, but in a very a positive way, that we should face the problem without saying it indirectly. We have to say it directly, that we are facing this problem, and we, or educators and experts in the field, should help to make others more capable of being engaged in platforms like this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amani, for your detailed response. My heart goes out when I think about how challenging it could be to even talk about the most basic human experiences in spaces where you cannot fully leverage the safe space. So I think that is a bigger challenge when you look globally as to whether can you speak about topics and issues that impact your immediate society. So global citizenship being relevant to your local context, it's so very important. So Thank you for the kind of work that you do, Amani, in your country and in the
Thank you.
region. It's just very heartwarming. So
Thank
now we have a question from. I'm just going to take one last question on the importance of intentionality. So we do understand that when it comes to education, intentionality, or say giving purpose or meaning to why we're doing what we're doing is so important. So what are some of the challenges to say talk on topics that might be controversial? How do you drive that intentionality and ensure that, like, a classroom is a safe space to discuss topics that could impact that could have an adverse impact on society? So either of you can take that question.